When the Prophet Muhammad and his followers arrived in Medina in 622 CE, they entered a city divided among various Arab tribes and Jewish tribes. The Prophet established the Constitution of Medina, a pact guaranteeing religious freedom and mutual defense for all groups. For a time, this agreement fostered cautious cooperation, with each community maintaining its own identity but sharing responsibility for the city's security. However, as Islam's influence grew, tensions surfaced. The Prophet's message challenged the established religious order, and most Jewish leaders remained skeptical. Theological disputes and political maneuvering eroded the initial goodwill. The first major breach came with the Banu Kainuka, who were accused of breaking the pact after the Battle of Badr. Their expulsion from Medina sent a clear message: the constitution's terms were binding, and threats to the city's security would not be tolerated. This event set a precedent for how Medina would handle internal dissent. The city's fragile unity was now under constant strain, with old rivalries resurfacing beneath the surface. The seeds of discord had been sown, and the stage was set for further conflict. The next crisis involved the Banu Nadir, a wealthy tribe on Medina's outskirts. The Prophet visited them to request help with blood money, as required by the constitution. Outwardly cooperative, the Banu Nadir secretly plotted to assassinate him. According to tradition, the Prophet was divinely warned and left before the plot could unfold. This act of betrayal shattered any remaining trust. The Prophet responded with a clear ultimatum. The Banu Nadir had 10 days to leave Medina. Their attempted assassination was seen as an act of war and a violation of both hospitality and the city's pact. The order to expel them was a decisive move to protect Medina from internal threats. The city's leadership made it clear: treachery would be met with swift consequences. The expulsion of the Banu Nadir marked another turning point in Medina's struggle for unity. The Banu Nadir, defiant and confident in their fortresses, refused to leave Medina. Encouraged by false promises of support from Abdullah ibn Ubay and other allies, they prepared for a siege. The Prophet led the Muslim army to surround their strongholds, cutting them off from aid. The promised reinforcements never arrived, leaving the Banu Nadir isolated. The siege was psychological, with the Muslims even cutting down palm trees to pressure the besieged tribe. Realizing their position was hopeless, the Banu Nadir surrendered after about 2 weeks. They were allowed to leave with their possessions, except for their weapons, and migrated north to Khaybar. The peaceful expulsion avoided further bloodshed but deepened the city's divisions. The Banu Nadir's departure shifted the conflict beyond Medina's walls. The struggle for control and security was far from over. Exiled to Khaybar, the Banu Nadir's leaders became architects of a grand alliance against Medina. Huyay ibn Akhtab rallied the Quraysh, Ghatafan and others, forming a confederate army of 10,000. Facing overwhelming odds, the Muslims adopted a novel defense, digging a trench to block the invaders. The Confederate army was stalled, unable to breach Medina's defenses. Meanwhile, Huyay secretly urged the Banu Qurayza, Medina's last Jewish tribe, to break their pact and attack from within. The city was on the brink, threatened from both outside and inside. The siege dragged on, but the Confederates grew frustrated and supplies dwindled. A fierce windstorm finally broke their resolve and the alliance collapsed. The Muslims survived, but the internal threat from the Banu Qurayza now demanded immediate attention. The Battle of the Trench was a turning point, exposing the city's vulnerabilities and the high stakes of betrayal. During the siege, the Banu Qurayza broke their treaty and sided with the invaders, threatening Medina from within. Panic spread among the Muslims, who now faced danger on 2 fronts. After the Confederate army retreated, the Prophet turned to address this internal betrayal. The Muslims besieged the Banu Qurayza's fortress, and after 25 days the tribe surrendered. They agreed to accept the judgment of Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, who ruled according to their own laws. The fighting men were executed and the women and children taken captive. This harsh verdict was seen as a warning against treachery. The fate of the Banu Qurayza marked the end of major internal threats to Medina. The city's survival had come at a heavy cost, but its unity was now secured. The events left a lasting impact on the region's political landscape. Medina emerged stronger, but the memory of betrayal would not be forgotten. The leaders of the exiled Banu Nadir continued to plot against Medina from Khaybar, turning it into a base for raids and conspiracies. Recognizing the ongoing threat, the Prophet led a surprise campaign against Khaybar in 628 CE. The Muslims besieged and captured the oasis's formidable fortresses one by one. After fierce resistance, Khaybar's leaders surrendered and pleaded for their lives. The Prophet allowed them to remain as cultivators, giving half their produce to Medina as tax. This pragmatic settlement secured vital resources for the Muslim community and ended Khaybar's role as a threat. The conquest marked a decisive shift in regional power. Medina's dominance was now unchallenged, and its security assured. The city's survival and growth were guaranteed by these hard-won victories. The struggle for unity had reshaped the destiny of the oasis city. The legacy of these conflicts would echo throughout Islamic history.